Hey everyone, welcome back. AC install, all new wiring in a 64 Chevelle. So much is going on, so much work is being done. Let me bring you up to speed. Let's do it. If you're new to this channel, thanks for tuning in. I've got a 1964 Chevelle convertible. It's outfitted with a LSX 454, and it's in a state right now. Just a few weeks ago, this was a perfectly running and driving car, and as you can see, it is completely torn down. We started doing air conditioning, it turned into wiring, and we're making big progress though. So air conditioning wise, we've got the condenser radiator in. We had to move the regular radiator back to squeeze a transmission cooler in between it because I've got a 4L80 transmission in this. This whole package does need to be temperature controlled, and we've got it all under control up here. We've got the wheel well out because we're dragging everything through this corner over here for the heater, the air conditioning lines, and the wiring. I'm going to show you that here in a second. We have modified the firewall to get the brand new wiring harness and fuse panel in place, and we've rerouted all the wiring to come through this upper corner instead of various holes in the firewall. We've got all that sealed up. We have kill matted the firewall and put in a rubber dampener, and that black is only really there to cover up where the carpeting stopped, and you could see the kill mat behind it, so I didn't want any of that. Most recently, all the work has been being done over here on the passenger side. We now have the actual air conditioning unit in place. All the hoses are connected, and we've done a custom routing of the hoses instead of going through the fresh air vent, because this was not an air conditioned car. We went above that through the sheet metal, get a light on here, and we put our own holes there. We ran all of the wiring and all the hoses above it so we can still keep our fresh air vent. We did have to put an elbow here because this hose was kinking. That's a water line, and it just wasn't making the corner. But if it does end up leaking, this is inside the fender, it'll just drain to the ground. But that's a nice barbed end, and it's super tight, and I do not think it's going to leak. But you can see all the wiring is now going through. This is the big red wire is an amplifier wire for the stereo system, and then all the other wiring is for the air conditioner. Let's take a look under the fender in the front where it's coming to. So up in here, we've now got all the wires pulled through the grommets and all the hoses pulled through. I'm going straight through the old heater fan section and right into that kick panel area. So all the wiring and hoses, I'm about to put this plate on, seal it up, and be done with it. And then we're moving on to wiring under the hood. All that is going to come up. You see where it's at in the engine compartment. I got to put the fender well back in. That's where all that's going. And then we get into the rest of the wiring for the engine compartment. Still got a lot to do up here. It seems like a lot. We've got the windshield wiper. That's all this is, windshield wiper and windshield squirter. This wiring, I have 3 wires that actually have to go through into the engine compartment. None of this wiring is used. This is for paddle shifters for the 4L80 and some other controls we're not using. We got the starter wires and power wire for the fuse block. Got all the computers we got to get remounted up. All the headlight wiring is done. Headlights, turn signals on both sides. All the horns are all wired up. So a lot of work has been done. But we're getting there. And the next step is to get this hose area all buttoned up. And then we'll see what's next. And just like that, we have that piece in place and sealed and tightened down. So all of our wiring and hoses are now coming up into the fender, and they'll go over the top of the fender well when that is put back in place. So yeah, man, we're really moving along. Well, I gotta show you guys something I'm pretty proud of, something I really wanted to do since before I even started this project. And that was, I talked about it in other videos, I wanted to keep the fresh air vent on the passenger side and route the hoses in another location. Now, I looked on the internet prior to all this, YouTube and the whole 9 yards, and I really wasn't able to find much. I think I found one video, maybe it may have been on a 70 Chevelle, where they cut the holes, basically what I did, above the fresh air vent. But I wasn't sure that this was going to actually work with it all said and done, with the vent put back in, with just all of it working. Was it going to work until now? Let me show you what I got. So here is the kick panel back in place somewhat, and you can see the fresh air vent is there and all the hoses and wiring and everything are above. I did notch this little corner for some wiring, but other than that, it's completely hidden. Wouldn't even know. Now, I don't believe air-conditioned cars even came with this fresh air vent, so to have both is kind of a big deal. So it's pretty darn cool. Everything's tucked up in here, out of the way. Can't really see it. Get a light on here. I got the cable back in place that controls the fresh air vent. So that opens and closes in there. All that works. And yes, before you all rear end me, I do plan on painting the kick panel to match the paint so we don't have multiple colors of blue. Yes, it drives me crazy too. I will be doing that. We're down to the AC wiring here. A few things, a few connectors that have to be done. And of course, we got to still finish rewiring the entire car. Dashboard will be coming up next. But yeah, pretty stoked on that. We've now got the electronic water valve control in place. This is controlled by the temperature control that opens and closes the water flow through the heater core inside. So that's now all in, wired and plumbed. I think we could probably put the wheel well back in place. That would be a big deal. Then I can get all of this area buttoned up. Now, just like that, the water lines are connected. Now, I opted to go with a splice right there. Just my choice. I could have run a full line all the way from inside the car, but I chose that. So, connection point right there. Then I didn't have to break open any of this stuff on the water pump. I had existing lines and I just put them inside the fender. So, I think the fender well can go back in. Just got to route the wiring up. Everything is nicely tied up here. Probably just connect the wiring to that, and then yeah, I think the fender well can go back in. Next thing checked off the list is the drain hose that goes out the firewall. So that's all installed. Should have done that earlier. Read the instructions from the beginning all the way through. And of course I screwed up some of my padding. I don't think it'll be seen at all from above, way up here. But that's okay. The carpet, I believe, comes up this high anyway, so no big deal. But trying to get this thing in nice. All right, on to some wiring here for the air conditioner, and then all we gotta do is rewire the entire car and put it back together. Okay, AC wiring under dash complete. Everything's buttoned up with the exception of the controller and the ignition wire switch. That's it for in the car for AC. Wiring under the hood still needs to be done. And the two hoses to the compressor and the condenser and dryer and that. It's just down to car wiring now. Okay, I think we're pretty much so to the end of the line on what we can do with air conditioning. So we're going to turn back to wiring, and I think what we're going to take a look at is wiring the back of the dash panel. So let's get out all the dash parts and see what we got and see what it takes to put all that back together. Okay, so in previous videos, I put these strip of LEDs inside the gauge, and I thought that would be a good idea, and it really worked. It worked well, the lighting was good, but the problem is that this stuff is adhesive. It sticks to the inside, and I've had not really good results with this stuff. It lasts a little while, and then it fails, and I just don't want to deal with it and having to take out the dashboard again if this adhesive fails, and I just don't want to deal with it. Other options are changing out the light bulbs. I do have new LED light bulbs somewhere around here. If they're not bright enough, I'll go with even brighter ones, but I'm going to do with that to start with. So let's get this put back together. I do have a brand new gauge, dial, indicator information, plexi, whatever. That's going to go in right now. Okay, so we now have a brand new gauge dial face and a brand new dash with the AC vent. So we got to get some switch gear moved over here, cigarette lighter, ignition switch, few other bits, then we'll put the gauges in, then we're going to see what the wiring looks like. That's pretty nice stuff. Pretty happy. Okay, we've got the ignition switch in and this grounding strap. Now what happens is the radio gets grounded here, the cigarette lighter gets grounded here, the ignition switch gets grounded, and then so does the gauge cluster when it goes to the screw right here. And then all this stuff has straps as well, which we still got to take off of the other cluster. So I went ahead and hit this with a little bit of sandpaper to clean this up. For the life of me, last time I could never get my cigarette lighter to work, and I think it just had a bad ground right here, so we clean that metal up. All right, now my wiring kit did come with a brand new lighting switch. So headlight switch going to go right there. I got a brand new one, but I got to get that ground strap out from underneath the other one, so we're going to work on that. Okay, getting the switch gear in. Now got the windshield wipers and the light switch. Now this is the rod and the knob, and this has to be cut down to length. So that's in, that's out, and that's too long. So I got to cut it down to that length. Not a problem. We got the ignition switch in, got the cigarette lighter in. My cigarette lighter is crap, so I'll probably have to buy a new cigarette lighter, but that's okay. What's next to go in? Gotta get the knob on there, and then the gauge cluster. There we go. All reassembled. New dash. New gauge plexi, looks very nice. All the switch gear is in, so all this stuff, the radio and the AC vent, will go in the car. So I guess the next thing is to start wiring the cluster. Moving on to the instrument cluster wiring. Let's see what kind of fun stuff we got in here. Can't be too bad, not a lot of connections. Okay, maybe I spoke too soon. So I have to actually build the light fixtures, all the pins, contacts, buttons, springs, fun, and all the terminals for all of this stuff here. And then these are the connectors that are going to connect to the wiring harness after this is in the car. Let's get to work. so this is what we've got. It's looking pretty good. So we got to just do all the light bulbs. Those illuminate. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to daisy chain them all together. Splice all into a single line. That's this gray line. And then we'll have that together. Then it's just going to be two connectors on the back. Nice. So the next thing I want to do is test my crimps. And I'm going to do that by putting a light bulb in, connecting to positive and ground. And yes, we have light. So we're going to test all of these and make sure my crimps are good. 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 It's a spaghetti mess, but we've got it all crimped up. We're going to test all the lights one more time and then button this all up. I got some mounts, zip tie mounts to use, and yep, dash is wired to 2 plugs. I like it. Okay, there's a test of the dash lights. I might go with a brighter bulb. I mean, those aren't bad. Got the lights off in the garage. They're not bad. It's even. Oh, we have one move there. Saw one flicker for a split second. I have to check that. I don't know. They're not bad, but oh, let's see. Actually, no, that's as bright as they're going to go. So I might get a brighter bulb. We'll see. All right, so a little update here. I'm now going through all of the bulb holders, and I'm soldering every pin. I don't have the proper crimper, and I was having problems with these staying on, so I'm now going back and I'm crimping these, and I'm also having trouble with these sockets holding the bulb properly, so I'm having to go in there and make minor adjustments to the bulb holder to get the bulbs to fit in there properly. It could be these bulbs, these little LEDs, I don't know, but I'm going through every single one of these and soldering them all and making sure that the connection is good, solid, and will last. So they're all soldered and all the sockets have been adjusted. A lot of work, but this is going to guarantee reliability down the line. Okay, slight change of plans. I am ditching these LEDs and going back to the regular incandescents. The damn things are falling out of the sockets, and I've had some sparks, just this thing moving ever so slightly, and I'm getting sparking, and they're falling out of the sockets and rattling around. And if they're doing that on the bench, they're going to do it in the car. So I'm going back to the incandescents, and I don't know what I was thinking using this Chinese stuff. Anyway, back to work. Okay, another test. And they're actually brighter than without those LEDs, and instead of being blue, they're white. And I like that. So, very good. Back to working. So, we'll test the rest of them. That looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. Okay, we got everything buttoned up now, cleaned up. Still enough room to pull a bulb or a connector, but everything's under control. So when that goes in, we got 2 connectors, one for the clock, and these are tack wire. And so what do we got? Brake light, which we don't use. I'm going to leave these in here for right now because I might put a brake light into this dash at a later date, just this type of a thing, and put a light on the dash, but we'll see. We'll see. We're just going to leave that in there for right now, but we're on to the inside now. Going to have to start going through that dash area, and we're going to have to figure out how to deal with the air conditioning ducting. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Remember to like and subscribe so you can follow this series. We're really making headway. A lot of this stuff is tedious work. It takes some time, but we're getting through it. So we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace.